Been so confusing for people.
Yes.
All right, so why don't we just start with just the very top line basics, because I feel like everyone's talking about the skin microbiome, but what actually is it?
So basically on our skin and throughout our bodies, we've got millions and trillions of bugs that live there. And so we've got bacteria, we've got fungi, we've got viruses.
What do you think is one of the biggest, say, misconceptions?
In thinking that bacteria is bad. And so thinking that we need to scrub our skin, we need that squeaky clean feeling on our skin. We don't. We should be using more kind of pH balanced cleansers and trying not to just take everything off the skin, because that is what's going to impact the barrier.
When you see people with their skin, can you tell if their gut is out or if their diet has played a part in their skin condition?
I guess.
What about the whole, 12-step skincare routine? And we've gone from 3 steps. It was a cleanse, maybe back in the 80s, it was cleanse, exfoliate, and moisturize,
Yes.
maybe at best.
Yes.
And now it's really it's complex.
Yeah.
Is that better? Is that worse?
Dermatologists have always stuck with, the simpler the better.
Yeah. What's the most important message you think people should know when it comes to, looking after their skin?
Individualization. So not copying your neighbours, your best friends, your sister's skincare routine. It's just kind of getting to know your own skin.
Let's just do some rapid fire things I think that might shock people. True or false, the skin has more microbiomes than people on Earth. Can your skin microbiome affect how you smell? That's so crazy. Yeah. It's so fascinating to hear you say that. Welcome to SWIISH Wellness Unlocked, the podcast that cuts through the noise and gets straight to what works. We're your hosts, Sally Obermeter
and Maha Corbett.
We're founders of a global wellness brand that's been changing lives for over a decade. Every episode, we're going to explore the latest trends. We'll dive into breakthrough science and insights from leading experts to help you live, feel, and look your best. No fluff, just facts that work. Let's unlock it. Did you know that your skin could be aging faster and it's not because of time? Up to 70% of visible skin aging is actually linked to external factors, and one of the biggest, yet it's probably one of the most overlooked, is the skin microbiome. So today we're joined by a dermatologist and skin science expert, Dr. Shreya Andrick, to unpack why this could actually be the key to everything from fewer breakouts, reduced redness, inflammation, and even slowing down the signs of aging. This is the science of skincare routine that has been missing. So let's unlock it. All right, so why don't we just start with just the very top line basics, because I feel like everyone's talking about the skin microbiome, but what actually is it? And what is it?
Yes, so basically on our skin and throughout our bodies, we've got millions and trillions of bugs that live there. And so we've got bacteria, we've got fungi, we've got viruses, and they're all there as a protective kind of barrier for our skin.
Yep.
And so everyone gets really freaked out that we've got bugs on our skin.
Yes.
But if the skin microbiome is balanced, we've got a good mixture of good bacteria, good fungi, yeast, mites, things like that, then that helps our skin to be as healthy as possible.
It's hard when you hear mites, you're like,
I
no,
know.
I need to cleanse that thing right off. Is it like the gut? I feel like people have a good understanding that, the gut needs, good bacteria, bad bacteria, it needs to be in harmony. Is it the same?
Correct, yes, yeah. So we have our skin barrier, which is so important. So the skin barrier is made up of essentially, it's the top layer of skin. It's got the dead skin cells sitting on top, and in between we've got our kind of fatty layer. So, fats, ceramides, things like that. And that helps to stop things from entering, and it helps to stop water from exiting. So the healthy bacteria on our skin, so the most common one is Staph epidermidis, that actually helps in the formation of more ceramides. It helps to stop water from exiting as well. And so maintaining that skin barrier and keeping that nice and healthy. So they're doing, important little jobs on the skin that just help our skin to be as healthy as possible.
like what role do they play? Like you say, it's to keep the skin healthy, but what do they actually have to do?
So they stop overgrowth of bad bacteria and bugs and things.
Yep.
They produce, secretions and things like that can, like I said, help with our skin barrier.
Yeah.
And by just working in combination together, they just help to reduce inflammation in the skin. And so, yeah, they can be really helpful.
Does it vary? Does the skin microbiome vary, say, across either different skin types or different ethnicities or as we age?
Yes. So it varies in all of those things.
Yeah.
So from birth, we have a much different skin microbiome to when we're older. So when from babies, they tend to have more yeast on the skin, and that's why they start to get cradle cap and things like that. When we hit that adolescent age group, then we're starting to see more bacteria on the skin. We see Cutibacterium acnes, which can be responsible for acne, increased quantities of that on the skin. And then as we get older, the diversity of the microbiome significantly decreases. So it's a much less diverse. We also have different microbiome in different areas. So sweaty areas like, on the forehead, on the back, they tend to they're more oily areas. So they tend to have more of that Cutibacterium acnes. Then the forearm is very different as well. We also see difference in various skin conditions. So I've mentioned acne.
Yeah.
In eczema, patients who have eczema, 90% of those will have a significant overgrowth of Staph aureus, which is a potentially harmful bacteria.
Yep.
We see in rosacea, we all have, like I said, we all have mites on our skin, and those patients who have rosacea tend to have an overgrowth of mites on the skin.
Does it vary? It's funny when you said sweaty areas and oily. I immediately was thinking tropical. I just straight away was like on a tropical areas. What about around the world? Does it vary?
Yeah, they all vary around the world.
Yeah.
So varies based on your background, on your ethnicity, different areas. Even going from urban to rural areas tend to have more microbial diversity as opposed to urban areas. And so that's why we tend to see less eczema and things in rural areas compared to in the city.
So is there a, not this term perfect, but is there the right, an ideal maybe skin microbiome?
I'd say there is an ideal microbiome for you. Everyone's microbiome is really individualized, and it really just comes down to you yourself and having that right. It's so hard.
Yes.
But I guess that's why in terms of skincare and things like that, it should always be individualized. Even it would vary between siblings. My middle sister has more oily skin. My younger sister has drier skin.
Yeah.
And so all of our microbiomes would be very different.
Yes.
And it is all individualized.
Working within what's right for you. What do you think is one of the biggest, say, misconceptions you think that people have about the microbiome in relation to skincare or beauty?
I think in thinking that bacteria is bad. And so thinking that we need to scrub our skin, we need that squeaky clean feeling on our skin. We don't. We, should be using more kind of pH balanced cleansers and trying not to just take everything off the skin, because that is what's going to impact the barrier.
Yeah, that's such a true thing. Traditional skincare products, do you think, is there any evidence that suggests that, say, certain ingredients are much more disruptive to the skin microbiome?
Yeah, so I think things like sulphates, things that are very acidic or alkaline, they can all be quite damaging in that it's stripping that layer away.
And is that the same with parabens and stuff as well?
Yeah,
so sulphates and parabens. Yeah, it makes sense then. There's a real trend that's called microbiome-friendly in skincare products. And I think a lot of people, if you've heard of microbiome, you're not actually sure, wait, the fuck actually is that? Can you explain what that is?
So, look, I guess it's not really a regulated term, so I can't give you a definition per se, but I think it is, if I were to be marketing a product to be microbiome friendly, I would hope that it would be pH balanced, that it wouldn't contain those ingredients that we've mentioned, that it's basically just trying to support that, microbiome, the natural growth of the bacteria and things.
Is there Is there something that someone should look for besides, say, sulfate-free and paraben-free if they were looking for, skincare that was appropriate for the microbiome and nourishing it?
Yes. So I guess probably moving away from those kind of foaming stripping cleansers and things like that, looking for, moisturizers that have ceramides and things in it. So it is the microbiome and the skin barrier are quite intertwined.
Yeah.
And so they're all of those barrier-friendly things.
Is what you need. What about the connection between the, obviously, diet and the skin microbiome, diet and the skin, the gut?
Yes.
What can you tell us there?
They're definitely, there's the gut-skin axis. And so we think about things like, high sugar diets, high GI diets, low fiber, all of those things can affect the skin. And they can throw out that microbiome as well.
Yeah. Soluble fiber, I read something the other day that, it's such a soluble fiber and people are not having enough. There's such a fixation currently around protein, which of course has its place. But people have forgotten that fiber is so key, and there's such a strong connection between having soluble fiber, obviously in addition to just looking after your colon, but in terms of the skin. And like you said, that gut skin access, can you, when you see people, you're a dermatologist, you've got a dermatology practice. So when you see people with their skin, can you tell if their gut is out or if their diet has played a part in their skin condition?
I guess not necessarily just by looking at the skin, but, like you'd be able to tell. Most people can tell if, you've got a poor diet. That often does reflect on your skin. And so I wouldn't say that I would necessarily look at someone, but, say I saw a teenager with acne, then that would be something that I'd be educating them on and saying, we need to really pull in, most people these days do have a good diet, but it's still, kind of tightening it up a little bit.
How can you make it better? Well, what about the whole, 12-step skincare routine? And like we've gone from like 3 steps. It was like, I don't know, cleanse, maybe like back in the 80s, it was like cleanse, exfoliate and moisturize, maybe at best. And now it's really like, it's complex. Is that better? Is that worse? Is it individual?
I think dermatologists have always stuck with, the simpler the better. Not only just because if it's simpler, then you're more likely to stick to it. And also we don't want to be chopping and changing things all the time. But also because when you are layering on all of those products, then they can start to really affect that barrier. And so then you can start to get things like periorificial dermatitis and things like that.
So, I mean, I guess if people want to, create a skincare routine that's manageable but also isn't going to be damaging, what do you suggest that they have or do?
Yes. So I'd probably say to use a gentle cleanser. I love niacinamide. Niacinamide is one of my favorite ingredients. So it's helps to reduce inflammation in the skin. It restores the skin barrier. It's an antioxidant. So niacinamide is a great one for microbial balance. A moisturizer that has ceramides in it. Always sunscreen. And then at nighttime, maybe cleanser. Peptides. Peptides are a beautiful ingredient as well. They do help to reduce inflammation in the skin as well as promoting collagen and elastin production. And then your moisturizer on top. So that's kind of just like a very basic, effective, but really gentle skincare routine.
What developments are you seeing in skincare? Have you seen anything that you're like, oh, that's exciting actually?
I think for me, I think more and more peptides and things like that. I love seeing all of the research that's going into those. I think that in terms of the skin microbiome, there is a lot of evidence coming out showing that prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics, they're all, really beneficial to the skin. So it's still early days, I would say, with those. But there is evidence coming out. It's really promising.
Interesting to see what happens in skincare. It's definitely changing. Like we're working, I know, on a cell signaling serum. Specifically designed to help your skin cells, activate their own collagen again. So there's a lot of advancements.
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah,
It's a lot to keep up with.
it is exciting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like acne and eczema specifically, because I know that's an area that a lot of people struggle with. Let's start maybe with acne. Suggestions, tips for people.
So in terms of acne, when we're treating acne topically, I tend to choose like a salicylic acid based cleanser because salicylic acid can really get into the pores and clear them out. There are so many different products that are out there, you know, benzoyl peroxide is effective for acne. So you could I prefer to use that in a wash off, you know, if you've got acne on the back as an example, using that in the shower to wash with. Your retinoids, they're kind of increasing skin cell turnover. So again, stopping those pores from being blocked. Coming back to, in terms of moisturizers, I guess something that is oil-free, that's non-comedogenic. So again, not going to block the pores. If you're finding that you can't get on top of it yourself, you know, using over-the-counter products, then definitely seeing a dermatologist sooner rather than later because we want to minimize that risk of scarring. Things that can contribute to scarring, picking the skin. So, you know, trying to keep your hands off. Pimple patches are really effective for that, just providing a bit of a barrier.
Yes, totally. And I think also what's so great about pimple patches is when you don't see it, you also are less likely to like go start fidgeting around and putting your hands all over it. And then what about for eczema?
So for eczema, essentially it's those, we talk about these general skincare measures because unfortunately eczema, you know, babies, children can grow out of it, but there are a number of people who do continue on with it. And studies have shown that if you have eczema from a young age, then you are more likely to have dry skin and impaired skin barrier later in life. So general skincare measures, short, cool showers, 3 to 5 minute showers. Use a soap-free wash. You know, as soon as you get out of the shower, pat the skin dry and moisturizer on when the skin's still a little bit damp, and that's going to help to lock in the moisture.
What about sanitizer? Just in general, you know, I think we've obviously become quite conditioned to reaching for it. Like, you know, thoughts?
Yeah, so hand sanitizers can definitely strip the skin and can affect the skin barrier. So that being said, I do think that a hand sanitizer gel is better for your skin than soap and water. So you're better to use a hand sanitizer gel than soap and water.
Interesting. So, you know, we have a dog, for example, and the girls are, you know, the two things they do the most, play with the dog and eat, right? So it's always like in from one and out to the other. And we have this discussion at home. I was always like, oh, don't do too much sanitizer. So I was always like, do soap and water. So it's so fascinating to hear you say that.
Yeah. So, you know, the hand sanitizer liquids, they, you know, they're much more stripping. But soap and water is
interesting.
Unless you go for a soap-free wash, then that'll be better than you know.
Then stages. What like I guess you're somebody who lives and breathes skin. Let's talk about skincare treatments, you know, because there's so many around at the moment. Let's start with like I guess one of the just more basics, LED lights at home. Great, not great. What are your thoughts?
Great, So, but you have to be willing to use them. So you need to use it at least 5 days a week. Otherwise, it's not going to do too much. You might be better off going into a clinic and just doing a once a week LED treatment if you're not going to commit to every day.
And is it? I had a friend who said, you know, if you don't get kind of like a medical grade one, it's basically like putting Christmas lights on your face.
Yeah, so you do want to choose the right one. You want to, and unfortunately, it tends to be the more expensive the better. But you want to have, you know, the right wavelengths on the mask. You want to have those different lights, different coloured lights. But if you're going just for like a cheap one that it tends to not do the job.
Not do that. Before you put your skincare on, you do the LED mask or after, or does it matter?
I would do skincare after.
Skincare after. Yeah. What about other skincare treatments? What else do you like? You know, people, other things that are popular with people, Morpheus, CO2 laser, the salmon sperm. Let's kind of cover off a few of these.
We do all of those in our practice.
Right.
So we're very lucky. We've got pretty much every wavelength of technology that you would need. Look, it just depends on what you're treating, to be honest. Radio frequency, so that's kind of similar. So the Morpheus 8 is radio frequency. That's a really nice treatment treatment because it bypasses the top layer of skin. So it's colorblind. Essentially, it can be used in all skin types and delivers energy deeper down.
Yep.
But you would need to do multiple radio frequency treatments to get the same outcome that you would for a CO2. Then there's, and then in terms of, so salmon sperm, that's Redurin.
Yes.
So that they've been using that in Korea for like 10 plus years. It's a very safe treatment, which I really like about it.
Yes.
I love it for around the eyes because other products that we traditionally have injected, like hyaluronic acid, you can run into trouble around the eyes.
Right.
It retains water, so you can get swelling under the eyes. There's a risk of injecting into a vessel, and then that can cause blindness.
Yeah.
So whereas the Redurin is a really nice, safe treatment, and it's effective as well.
Yes. How long does it last?
So I would normally you would do 3 treatments a month apart, and then you'd probably do annual maintenance moving forward. So
does it feel funny, like, when you say like they've had this in Korea for 10 plus years and, basically in the last 12 months it's exploded here. And there's that running gag, on TikTok, Korea's living in 3025. We're still in 2025. What have you seen in Korean skincare that you think, why is that not more commonplace here? Is there anything that you love?
I guess when it comes to the regulations in Australia, I actually love that, everything takes a long time to go through the TGA. So you know that when something comes, it's going to be effective.
Yeah.
I can't even pinpoint anything because there's not one thing that I'm like, I wish we had that here.
Yeah.
And, if it takes a long time, even in America, there's so many, unregulated things.
Yes.
That, I quite like that we're
that's how I feel. That's how I feel about supplements. People are like, oh my God, I saw this thing on the internet. I was like, that's illegal here.
Yes, exactly.
So you know, that's actually illegal. And they're like, oh my God, but I got it from iHerb. And I'm like, that's still illegal. What's the most important message you think people should know when it comes to, I guess, looking after their skin? If you were like, if I could tell you one thing, this is it.
I think individualization. So not copying your neighbors, your best friends, your sister's skincare routine. It's just kind of getting to know your own skin, figuring out your skin type.
Yeah.
And then, providing a nice skincare routine that's going to support that. So, you can look into using things like salicylic acid if you have more acne-prone skin. But if you've got super dry skin or if you've got rosacea, then that's probably going to tip you over the edge.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. Like, it's easy for me to say, know your own skin type.
Yes.
But,
so if somebody is like hears that and goes, okay, you know what, I do want someone to tell me.
Yes.
Do you suggest they go see a dermatologist? Because it is confusing, right?
Yeah.
You go into any kind of, whether it's a supermarket, whether it's a pharmacy, whether it's a skincare kind of, cosmetic store.
Yes.
It's overwhelming.
Yes. I would recommend seeing a dermatologist mostly because we're not good salespeople. We don't like to sell skincare. Do you know what I mean? Like we do at my practice, we do have skincare for sale.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy to recommend other products that I don't sell.
Yes.
Or if I have something you can buy from a chemist, I'll say, you can just get that from the chemist.
Yes.
So I'm not doing myself any favors there, but we're not good at selling products. So we will just say, these are the right things for you.
Yes.
And
It's so refreshing to hear because I do think there is such an overwhelm.
Yes.
There is such an overwhelm. All right, I want to ask you, let's just do some rapid fire things I think that might shock people.
Yes.
True or false, the skin has more microbiomes than people on Earth?
Correct. Yes. There's millions, billions, trillions of microbes on the skin. So yes, there's many more than people.
That's so crazy. Which area of the body has the most diverse skin microbiome? Forearm or in an elbow?
Yes.
Depending on the study, it's
yes,
either or, right?
Yes, yeah. I was going to ask you and then I was going to try and quiz you on it.
Most common bacteria that's found on nearly everyone's skin?
So that's that Staph epidermidis. Yeah.
And how fast can your skin microbiome change after applying a new skincare product?
Do you know, it only takes hours to days for that to happen. So, but then to restore the skin microbiome takes much longer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And can your skin microbiome affect how you smell?
Yes, can.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
No.
This has been so good. Thank you so much.
No,
Like
my
it's been one of the
pleasure.
most asked for topics,
Oh,
the skin
so
microbiome, I
good.
think, because it's been so confusing for people.
Yes, well,
so
hopefully
thank
some
you.
clarity.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
much more clarity. Well, that's a wrap on Wellness Unlocked. If it hit home, then hit follow, share it, and dive into the show notes for all of the links and any of the resources. Head to SWIISH.com for more, and if you're in Australia, you can also find us in Priceline stores. Now, we want to hear from you what resonated, what you want more of, and what you're curious about next. This is your space for wellness that works.
Remember, everything we cover is for general informational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult your healthcare professional before making any changes to your health or wellness routine.